Well, we start off with your guy J.I.D. 2018 XXL freshman dropping his second studio album, and this is a follow up to a 2015 project named DiCaprio. DiCaprio 2.
Mm.
Uh, this thing was hot, man. I was listening at work this morning. I had to close my door because I didn't want the hallway to catch on fire.
Too much
Uh,
oxygen out there.
So give me a little bit of background about this guy, J.I.D, because I mean, we talked about him with the XXL 2018 list, but a lot of people probably don't really know who he is. He's not a huge star yet.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people refer to him as J.I.D, and despite the fact that it's an acronym, the way it's pronounced, so I've always been calling him J.I.D. Maybe we're wrong with that. I'm gonna keep calling
No
him
ID.
that. I'm gonna call him J.I.D. Anyway, yeah, he released 3 mixtapes between 2010 and 2013, and then that DiCaprio EP came out early 2015. But I wasn't really up on him until the first album came out at the beginning of 2017, The Never Story. And that's where, Ed and Eddie and Never, those were 2 really hot songs from him. And then around that time, he signed with Dreamville, signed with J. Cole. And that's really where a lot of people, got attention to him. I think, mainstream rap fans anyway were like, all right, we know who this guy is anyway. And I think the big reason he started to stand out then is because what's also present on DiCaprio too. He is a very talented rapper, technically, and dexterous flows and versatile ability. It's pretty evident, but he hadn't really shown through with a great project, I think, until now. But it's interesting to see him come up and get pretty famous in rap circles pretty quick, just because that XXL list, I think, was a kind of a surprising bow for him, not because he wasn't qualified, but just because he was not well known. He's the least well known guy on that cover easily. He's also one of the oldest guys. He's in his late 20s. But I think that J. Cole signing, that Dreamville push, really helped him, and I'm really glad that they pushed for that for him, because I think the natural progression was some things that happened on this album, which I think bodes well for his future as a bigger star. I think there's some songs on here that really show that. But yeah, no, it's been a pretty quick rise for him, despite being not super young or anything. But what did you think of DiCaprio 2? As this was probably your first listen, you might have heard some of those older singles, but this is your first experience with him, right?
Yeah, I was familiar with Never, and I think I had heard 151 Rum, which I think was released prior to this album as like a single. And I thought he was good. Nothing about it really caught my eye beyond this is a very competent rapper who obviously is very good at what he does, but I'm not sure what necessarily makes him special. But on this album, I think he shows a lot more than I really expected. And it really, I think, changed my opinion of who he is. Because when I think about all these XXL freshmen, we talk about them quite a bit, and not being, I mean, I'm not super into all like the up and coming hip hop artists. Usually, my track record with it is listening for the pod and doing a little bit of research to stay up to date. I was like, what really separates these people? What really puts one of them above the other? This album, starting off with Slick Talk, is like dropping ether on your ears. It was like unbelievable, and it really like pulled you in. You talked about his dexterity, the way that he like changes up his flow, even some of the way that the tracks like change up mid song, and he just starts going in a totally different direction, totally different pacing, is really impressive. And his rhymes, I mean, there wasn't really one song on here where I was like, that was pretty lame. I think there were some that were stronger than others, but I didn't think there was a bad track on this. What tracks or what parts of the album really stood out to you?
Yeah, so I think I mean, Frequency Change, the intro track, only a minute long. Actually, on second listen, I thought it was pretty amusing, where it's like making fun of rappers with extendo clips that don't fit their guns and stuff. It's kind of early sign of some of the things he's going to talk about on the record. So I thought it was funny. But yeah, Slick Talk with that flow switch, that beat switch. At least part of that's produced by Kenny Beats, producer of the year. Right away starts you off, and you know what you're getting into there. And then, I mean, I thought Off D's, the second single with J. Cole, which is probably the most indebted to Kendrick on this record in terms of how he sounds on that song. But that's another, like, that's probably the song you would put on for someone if they were like, why is he so technically proficient? Just listen to that. You understand.
Mhm.
But what really surprised me, which is as far as I could tell, the first time he had ever done this was the song Tide, track 8 with Black and LMA.
Mhm.
And I was like, this is a clear radio song, radio play from J.I.D. And he's like singing a hook and he's doing it well, you know? And that's not something he'd ever done before. And if he can do that, he can make more radio friendly music as well as just spit his ass off. You know, again, these are two qualities of Kendrick Lamar. I think that would be really impressive. And I think that song has great potential to be a chart song. And I hope Dreamville and company push that for him. But I mean, that's only halfway through the track listing. When I heard
Right.
that, I was like, wait, like there's growth, and that's
Mhm.
what he's already really technical. You know, I think the thing with technical rappers is like there are a lot of guys that come and go that are like they can technically rap, they can
Sure.
spit, you know, they don't really say anything, or they just think their shit don't stink. And like, you know, what's like the Nas Jay-Z comp? It's like
Mhm.
Nas better rapper, Jay-Z has more songs, Jay-Z has more hits, right? There's a lot of technical rappers that come and go that don't have hits or
Right.
songs people actually like to hear, even if like they technically make sense and he might actually have something to say once in a while.
Mhm.
And I think, you know, listen to DiCaprio 1, for example, or you listen to like Kendrick Lamar's C4, where you see like you listen to that, you hear the talent, you hear the ability, but it's not quite all there yet. You know, they just need to continue to
Mhm.
grow and evolve. And I think DiCaprio 2 is, you know, that evolution really showing itself. And so I think he's clearly the premier artist on Dreamville after Cole. And I'm really excited to see what happens next. But I mean, you know, then a song like Off the Zoinkies, again, like talking about
Mhm.
drugs. And he's kind of referenced this in his freestyles and XXL and stuff. But he doesn't fuck with a lot of like the mainstream stuff, but he also will back it up in his songs, you know? So I was a big fan for sure.
Yeah, your point about like these technical rappers that a lot of times don't have anything to say. I think sometimes that's the knock for J. Cole, where he's an incredible rapper, but sometimes his songs are just kind of corny or they don't really hit. But where Cole really succeeds is when he can kind of what you're talking about with J.I.D. mix in these hooks or these with these really technical verses that really just draw you in and can elevate a song. You're basically what you're saying is J.I.D's ceiling went from being like a decent role player to being a potential person that could carry a team or carry a label,
For
which is
sure.
really exciting. And I think that you know more than anything, obviously he's having a great year. What February or March when the list comes out, he's a surprise name, and then he drops an album like this at the end of the year to really solidify his place on that list. It's cool to see an artist like this really growing. Just to shout out a couple of the tracks I really liked. Strawberries really stood out to me, especially the second half when the horns really start to come in. You know, I'm a sucker for some good horns. And then Hot Box with Method Man and Joey, I thought
Fuck
was
yeah.
really good. I thought they both had great verses on that. So I was really taken by that song. Any last thoughts on this album before we move on?
Yeah, definitely listen. Don't sleep on JID. No shame if you weren't aware of him. Most people don't know who he is, but I think that should change after this record. So that's what I'm hoping for.